All right, so last little bit before we get to 3 and Out, I had sent you guys a link about a Tennessee postal worker. Okay, gentleman who's in his late 80s now, and this was done via from what I read. Now, I want to preface this with Snopes says this is fake, but every other World News Daily and a few others say it's legit. Two men who didn't know each other went to different private investigators, or maybe it was the same private investigator, wanting to know who their father was, and through random DNA sampling, they found the dad, but they also found out that he had, over the course of a couple decades, fathered around 1,300 illegitimate children. All right,
Damn.
An 87-year-old former postman has been proven to father over 1,300 illegitimate children after a private investigator hired by a Tennessee family discovered a shocking truth. And then he went on to say, after they found him, contraception wasn't very popular in those days, he told local reporters in his defense. I have nothing to be ashamed of. The 60s were the good old days, and I did a great Johnny Cash impression, which played out real good with the ladies, he explained. Some even thought I was Johnny Cash for real, he recalls laughingly. I don't know if they really believed it or if they were just trying to convince themselves, but who was I to say no to a quickie? Oh, boy.
Sounds like a good guy.
Can you... It's weird. Murray, you're a father of one. Alan and I are a father to none. Even if it's illegitimate, and even if you have nothing to do with the child, 1,300?
That's a lot of
1,300 of your own?
That's a spicy number right there.
Right?
Now, now, is the number high and maybe a little unbelievable? Yes. But as someone who is a current postman, dude, no, I'm telling you, if I love my wife, this is not a reflection of me. This is a reflection of the job and the way people on the street view it.
Mm-hmm.
You're in uniform. You're already doing a service for the public. There are lonely women out there. I think the reason you don't hear about this, like the old joke, like, it looks like the mailman, looks like the milkman, looks like the paperman. Social media has squashed a lot of this behavior. Like, you couldn't just get away with it. You couldn't lie and say your name was something else. Somebody like this, 30 years is the average lifespan of a postal worker. I mean, 3 decades. I can tell you right now, there's one route that I do that has 1,400 addresses on it. That's one route. Can you imagine if you flipped around route to route over 30 years, people moving in and out, single women, especially in that era, dads at work, moms at home, Johnny's at school. What do you think's going to happen? I think the 1,300 number is pretty high, but I can definitely see him tapping the high hundreds easily. Honestly, and I say this with confidence, easily if you're just throwing dick around.
Yeah, and in the Tennessee area.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what Tennessee was like in the 60s. He
wasn't familiar,
but he seems to have a pretty laissez-faire approach to. Hey man, 60s were a good time. We weren't using condoms.
right?
Women wanted me. I was dropping loads all over that goddamn town.
What was that? What was it Willie Nelson's character in Half Baked? Was he the one?
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
He didn't have condoms.
You know how much condoms were? Nah, how much? I don't know.
We didn't use them.
But I guess it's just like, I don't know. Does this trump Wilt Chamberlain's 10,000?
I want to say yes, because this is a fucking mailman. Wilt Chamberlain was a world-renowned athlete that everyone knew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think this is way more impressive.
And 1,300 doesn't mean just 1,300 intercourse sessions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, presumably, his conversion rate was not 100%.
He was better than an onside kick. Pre rule change. It's just and again, I want to follow up and see if this is true.
I would, yeah.
Snopes says no. Is Snopes the ultimate fact checker?
I mean,
but how would they know? Like, I mean, I can see like certain factoids that you can go back and you can truly fact check to the bottom line, but
yeah,
that means you've got to interview how many thousand. like you said, not every session was successful.
Mhm.
There wasn't a touchdown every time. So how many did he actually nail in this Tennessee town?
Right.
Ooh, that's a movie.
Now, nailing in a Tennessee town. What? Okay, so how can you? I understand social media. I was going to say not as prevalent, wasn't existent in the 70s, but I mean, I'm just assuming even if he was doing it in a Nashville suburb or a Memphis suburb that was
like somebody's got to find out, right?
somewhat sprawling. I'm not talking about someone's got to find out, but 1,300. There's got to be some talking going on.
Yeah,
I mean, people weren't shy from gossip or hearsay or rumors or anything like that. I mean, it's got to be like, hey, mailman fucked me. I had a kid. Me too. What? Boom. And I mean, now and then 2020, it's surfacing. Is it all that hush hush where women
it's
that
all cheating housewives and stuff? Maybe they never talked about it. You know what I mean?
Again, shame is a beautiful emotion to feel. Okay, and back then people had much more shame.
Yeah.
And if you got pregnant, you just lied to your husband and say like, "Oh, you're having a little Wesley."
And I was going to say,
Here he comes.
and he's presumably a Caucasian man by his description. So I mean, it's not like you're turning out little swirly kids to be like, "Oh, well, that's problematic."
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a telltale sign. So they're coming out the same general color.
me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah, exactly.
This is, Northern Italian. So, shit. Well, someone told me a story, and I don't know who it was. I don't know when it was. This is a few years ago that someone that they knew's grandfather was a railroad worker. And this is back in like the 20s or 30s, and had families on opposite ends of his working stuff.
Yeah.
And it was somewhere around like the Tennessee or Ohio area, and the other one was in the Mid-Atlantic. And he had 2 wives and 2 families, and none of them knew of each other.
Yeah.
And lived his life.
That's what happens, man.
Weird.
It is kind of crazy.
Yeah. See, the information age, man. Like you can't get away with shit anymore.
All right. So
Now, if it was today, he'd be on the Wendy Williams show bragging about it.
mad true. So, Murr, how many houses could you think you could knock out? Truthfully.
Probably 10.
Damn.
Yeah.
See, like that's a solid number.
Yeah.
Nah, just knowing like what kind of women have flirted with me. Like I'm like, oh God, this is, I don't know, it's embarrassing. And just for the record, I'm not like that, but I'm just like, no, if I was, there is one guy in our office who has a reputation.
The strange.
Mm-hmm.
He has a reputation, and we're pretty. We don't know if he's fathered any kids, but we do know that he is. He's dabbled around town quite a bit in his like 20 years there.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta, make a delivery.
That's right. And, I guess, is he also a habitual late on his routes? Is he ever kind of like, hey, couldn't get them all today?
Is he ever? Oh, yeah. He's probably one of the highest paid postmen in the fucking country. No shit.
I'm sitting here throwing around like terminology like I know what gets talked about. Like couldn't get all the deliveries today.
Done today.
That's how they talk at the post
Had
office.
a little car trouble on Elm Street.
I think there is an Elm Street in Elkton.
There's an Elm Street everywhere.
No,
sure isn't.
What?
No. Nope.
There's a Booth Street. I'm not going to tell you how I know there's a Booth Street, but there's a Booth Street.